even though it is such good weather. I thought we would have less people, Edward, today because of the weather. But it's a really good thing. You can just stick it in your earphones and go for a walk. That's the advantages now. Me and Edward were just speaking there before he came on, before you guys came on, and he was saying that there's a lot to go through. So we may be staying on for 5 to 10 minutes at the end. So if you can stay on, that would be great. But if you have to go, that's fine. No worries at all. And it's the same as usual. If you have any questions or any concerns, pop them into the chat box as we go throughout. But other than that, I will pass you straight over because I know that we've got lots going on this morning. Edward.
Good afternoon, everybody. Listen, great to see you today. Great to be with you again for a final session on building confidence and self-esteem. We have a bit to get through today. I want to bring you quite a bit of information, so apologies for that. But again, hopefully what it will help us do is to round off this concept of how do we build our confidence and self-esteem. I built a little online hub for you as well, so I know Shannon will hopefully get that out to you. So I know they've sent you out the recordings of the videos to watch them back, but also we have a little online hub there with loads of other information and videos and nice articles and things that other people have done. Again, as I said, I don't prescribe to being any expert in the world. All the information that you need and want is out there. It's at your fingertips. So hopefully some of that stuff that I've read and looked at on my own journey might be useful for you also to reflect on. So again, I don't have any ownership of any of that information. That's great people in the world who have put that together. But again, hopefully it'll sow a little bit of a thread around what it is we've been talking about and help you on your journey. So what we'll do is we'll bring up our little slide deck again, which just helps us focus on what we're going to talk about. Everybody see that okay? Yeah, good. Okay. So where we finished off, or where I left you sitting in suspense last week, was how do we find our purpose in life? We talked about this searching for our purpose. Importantly, that what we sort of came to conclusion with where we finished last week was that trying to find our purpose sometimes is shaded, or it's hidden from us because of two main things. One is certainty, because most of us all like routine, and we like stability, we like predictability, and routines help conserve that mental energy, and it keeps us in our comfort zones. So that's one of the reasons for it. And the other reason was because of our limiting beliefs. The stories that we tell ourselves about who we are can either hold us back or propel us towards fulfillment. So that limiting belief. We also talked just briefly about the benefits of understanding our purpose. And importantly, how then we're going to start today. How do we find our purpose? One of the biggest questions that probably humankind has is, who am I and what am I here essentially to do? So some of the things that worked for me, and maybe that'll help you today in your journey of understanding who you are and that ultimate purpose. The first thing for me is this search inward. The questions, what is my purpose in life and how can I be happy? How can I be confident? How can I have self-esteem? Folks, are actually similar. They're similar or same kind of questions, and they have the same answer. You can never truly understand how to find your purpose by listening to others' opinions and seeking outside approval. Everything you need, Donald, Elizabeth, Melanie, others, is within yourself. The only thing holding you back is your own limiting beliefs. With each limiting belief, you identify and replace with an empowering belief. So how do we do it? We identify, we search inward and we look at these limiting beliefs that we have. We identify them. If anybody practices mindfulness, and we could do a whole conversation on mindfulness, but mindfulness practitioner is about looking and identifying maybe things that have been mislabeled are not fully understood, and identifying them with them. And what you were doing here is we replace with an empowering belief, and you develop greater self-awareness and confidence. And from that search inward, you are in control, or you begin to become in control of your emotions. You become in control of your life. The second big thing for me is put purpose before goals. Put purpose before goals. See, if you focus only on achieving short-term goals, and listen, in our workplaces, most of us are maybe year to year. That's what our goals is in our jobs. Certainly, organizations struggle to work with people on long-term purpose, not short-term goals. So, if in life you've replicated that, if you're only focusing on achieving short-term goals, you will never truly find that true passion or learn how to find your purpose. The goals you work towards must always be based on finding your purpose. If they're not, you'll only find a fleeting sense of maybe accomplishment. For me, and soon you'll be seeking for something more. And we talk about these things as midlife crisis. Been there, done it, and bought the t-shirt quite early on, and we see that probably now within younger generations. So no longer do we get our mid-30s or 40s and start going and looking at a car. I watch young people, and it starts much younger. And what happens is if you're not feeling that sense of accomplishment, you'll be seeking for something more. You won't be able to see that life is happening for you instead of you. So when you set a goal, maybe you should ask yourself, how will this help me feel more fulfilled? How does this relate back to my purpose? Maybe you might use a journal or a system. One of the things, and I'll put it on, is this rapid planning method to ensure you always keep your purpose top of your mind, not your short-term goals, your purpose. Third thing for me, folks, is to focus on what you have. See, developing an abundance mindset is like opening your eyes to life. Listen, we've all been there. We all focus on what we would like to have. It's nearly part of what drives us as humans, is this want to have something else, or to improve or to get better is one thing, but to focus on the things that you don't have, the things you would like. What happens for us then, we miss the abundance of what we have. You'll see beauty and goodness all around you. And with this new perspective, when you start to focus on what you have, your purpose in life becomes much clearer. See, today I'm not going to tell you what your purpose is. I'm going to tell you the things that can help you create the environment to find your purpose. When you focus on what you have and what you're doing, then you can start to see your purpose in life. It becomes much clearer. You question less and less about how to find your purpose because you feel like you've got more of the answers, that you're on a path to achieving something meaningful. And when we focus on what we have, folks, this is why we talk about confidence and self-esteem. And this is when you focus on what you have, fear disappears and abundance appears. You'll stop living in fear that you're maybe wasting your life, and you'll begin to attract some positive and joyful things in your life as well. So finding your purpose becomes an exciting journey. It should become an exciting journey when you focus on what you have. This is a big one, and I know for people who are maybe in management, we are working with other people. One of the things we say to people in management is to take ownership. We want people to take ownership. We want to empower people. And for me, true fulfillment comes from designing your own life. And many of us here today maybe get up each day and we allow other people to decide what our life's going to look like. How's it going to be shaped today? What are we going to do? And that might sound extraordinary for me to say to you, take ownership of your life. It's something that we all should do. But how many of us actually do it? And to find your purpose, you have to take ownership of your life. You must not let yourself be driven by fear or anxiety. A decision made from fear, folks, is always the wrong decision. It will not help you understand what your purpose is. And to truly take ownership, you must stop playing, I hate this word, but you got to stop playing victim. And I know that's not for everybody, But if that resonates with you today, I see it and I hear it all the time. Other people are to blame for why things happen for me. And that's maybe a different part of learning, but it's actually part of finding your purpose. Because when you take ownership, you stop playing the victim. You realize that every circumstance in your life is a result of your decisions, not anyone else's. And when you take responsibility for finding your purpose, you stop blaming others. Fifth one for me is think about what brings you joy. Look back on your life and identify the times when you felt most joy. Listen, we find our purpose and where we are happy or we experience joy. Unfortunately, for some of us, that may not be in our workplace. For a lot of us, that probably isn't in our workplace. So where we find our purpose in life, most of us will probably never find it in what we do in our work. Some of us are maybe really fortunate that we do find that, and bless, that's fantastic that you get there. Some of us change what we do and what we work at to try and find joy and what we do in work. So some of us may be creating art or helping others. And when you discover that, it brings you joy, and you usually discover where your passion lies. So part of understanding your purpose is where your passion lies. Your abilities are connected to that sense of joy. Think about that. I've said that already. Your abilities are connected to your sense of joy. You will find joy where you're using your abilities. And when you use your abilities, you'll find your purpose. Those things will be closely aligned. One of the things I always say to people is, listen, create a life vision statement. Most of us live in workplaces and we're always taught by what's our mission, what's our vision. Some of you out there today, I'm sure in senior management, that's part of what you're doing in the workplace, is managing this vision or of your organization. And all I say to you today is think about, do you have a life vision statement? Not your organization, not your short-term goals. And before you can ask yourself, what is my purpose? You first have to know what an ideal world looks like. How do you fit into it? And creating a life vision statement involves identifying what life would look like if everyone and everything that was in it was maybe living to its full potential. And this will, for me, folks, help you develop a roadmap. It'll help you develop a roadmap. Think the way we do visions and missions in our workplace. It's because then everybody around then develops a set of goals as how they're going to help deliver on that vision, that vision and mission. So think about that. Do you have a life vision statement for you? The last thing for me is discover your true needs. When asking themselves or asking people what is their purpose in life, some people don't even know where to start. I get that. And if you fall into that category, it helps to examine the 6 human needs. Okay. Even looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, some of us, I'm sure, have studied that or looked at that on our way. So our top need, folks, is certainty. Some of others might need significance and love and connection and growth. Okay. So understanding what your true needs are, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today, about what is our needs and importantly, what are our values. The last 2 things for me, of course, comes, which I've already talked about, is acceptance. Listen, acceptance is your friend. Part of finding your purpose is accepting your own limitations. And that's fine. It's great to have limitations. It's great to not be able to do things, but accepting them. I work a lot with young people. We talk about focus on the strengths, forget about weaknesses. Where we're taught in school, focus on your weaknesses. I have my kids come home, Daddy, I didn't do well today in my maths. And I'm like, but maths isn't your thing, but you're good at English. But schools and education, unfortunately, we do focus a lot on what our limitations are and how do we make those limitations better? How do we exceed those? And instead of getting frustrated with yourself, give yourself a break. Get to know yourself a little bit. Take this role of an observer. Again, if people practice mindfulness, part of mindfulness is being your own observer. As you practice this self-compassion for yourself, you'll be able to find some meaning. And self-compassion means being patient with yourself. Feeling lost in life or not having a purpose can be very disorientating for people, and you might feel frustrated. So giving yourself that little bit of, I'm okay, I'm fine to be the way I am. And from that, that hesitancy that we start with, you will then be prompted to maybe dig a little bit deeper. And the last one for me is finding your community, or find your community. See, finding your purpose in life is often about discovering where you fit in, folks. It's not what it's all about when we talk about our purpose, is where they fit in. When you meet people, we feel like we're at home. We meet our people. Some of you may have that in work, and it's great. Some of you may have it at home. Some of us may feel lost. So meeting your people. Some people travel across the world and remain in places like Peru and other areas like that because they find themselves at home with people. Finding your people, finding that community can often help you discover how to find your purpose. You can't find your purpose when you're not relaxed. Okay, so to find your community, follow your passions. Join a volunteer group, take a class, develop a skill, seek out support online. There's loads of ways to find a community. Find others who enjoy the same music, books or plays, and whatever it may be. And so finding that right community for me is a massive thing in how we find our purpose. Folks, I've put this together over my lifetime. What helped me, and this is a little grid map, again, happy to share it with you. And how I found my purpose in life was these 9 things that I had to do. When you first begin to dive into your own thoughts and desires, there will be an initial resistance. It can be, I would even say it kills you. And that's not the right word to use, but it does. For people who have done diets and everything else in their lives, we know when we start to face our inner dialogue, it's like putting yourself to sleep. You've got this little voice on your shoulder always telling you to go a different way. And that first inner dragon you might face will likely be your internal beliefs. They might try to stop you in your tracks or tell you that you're crazy for trying to find a purpose in the first place. They might say harsh things like, you don't deserve to have a purpose, or Donald, you'll never find what you're looking for. That's that inner critique. And to combat that inner dialogue, you have to first realize it's happening. Okay, when you start to actually pay attention to the thoughts as they're spiraling out of control, then they will lose power. They get their power by operating below the surface, folks. So when you shine a light or awareness upon them, they lose control over you. And once you're familiar with your inner dragons, it's a lot easier to slay them. How to Train a Dragon was on this weekend. I was sitting watching it with my daughter, and it got me thinking about that again. Once you become familiar with your dragon, it's easier to control it. And if you watch that movie, you'll see what happens at the start. I often think about those dragons being your thoughts, that inner dialogue. And what happens is, obviously, the young fella is able to tame that as they go along. So once you get familiar with this inner dialogue, then it's easier to work with it. And once you do that, next you'll have to take action. Once you become aware of this inner dialogue, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? How can you correct your inner dialogue if you really want to learn to find your purpose in life? Try this. When you've come across a belief that's threatening to stop your journey, take a breath, look at it square in the eye, and then act the other way. Now, this is the most difficult thing to do in life, but this is something that if you do it now, I'm not saying if you're standing at the edge of a cliff and it says, here, it'd be great to jump into the water, and your inner dialogue says, no, come away. I'm not telling you to act the other direction. But what I'm saying to you is, where you come across a belief that is threatening to stop you journeying, stop you from being happy, stop you from going in the direction that you truly want to go in, take a breath, go the other way. This will teach you to stop and teach you to develop what I call your courage muscle, your confidence muscle. And this is what I call this heart-centered courage. You will give yourself something. You will learn something about yourself, and ultimately you'll improve your mental health if you can stop going against this inner dialogue. Some of us may have read the great book called The Chimp Paradox, a very, very good book, and it tells you all about how this inner dialogue strays you away from your sense of purpose, your sense of duty, and your sense of where you want to go. Listen, I love this, but the thing is, we've got to discover what we're passionate about. How many of us get up each day and get out of our bed and have no passion or hunger? I can tell you, 91% of us, 91 out of 100 people get up each day and they don't know why and what they're doing. Everybody has to be passionate about something in life. Find out what things you are passionate about. For example, if you get excited about your annual family trip away, your holiday, I know some of us have struggled with that. That's been a big downer for many of us. Your passion can be traveling or your relationship with your family. One of those two things. If you're excited about your family trip away each year, your passion could be either traveling or your relationship with your family. So pay attention to figuring out what you are passionate about. Okay? You may or may not have passion in life already. Regardless, there's always something that you wish you could do and spend more time doing. So watch your inner dialogue pull you away from that. Next one for me is The Great Dig. Now, this isn't a BBC documentary, by the way. This is where we come up with a concept. But now you're getting ready to dive deep. Keep in mind that we're going to analyze some common threads in your life and the deep desires you currently have to give you what I call a 1-2 punch when learning about your purpose in life. Anybody who watches boxing, the greatest boxers have a 1-2. Okay, so what are you going to do? What are you going to move, or what direction are you going to go to make sure you've got that 1-2 punch when learning how to find your purpose in life? So you got to give some purpose to finding your purpose. Okay, the first thing for me is step one. We will have what I call these soul-boring questions. I say to people, if you had all the money in the world, how would you spend your time? How would you spend your time? If you had all the money in the world, how would you spend your time? What would your perfect day look like? What activities would set your soul on fire? Okay, so don't be afraid to dive deep with these questions and write down whatever comes to mind. So if you didn't have to get up to work each day, if you didn't have to go and do the daily slog, and you had all the money in the world, what would you spend your time doing? Not what would you spend the money on? That's a different question. But what would you spend your time doing? I call these the soul boring questions, and make sure you create what I would call some time and space to ponder these questions. Okay. And once you have your answers in hand, we're going to take a little stroll back in your memory, okay, to dig up, and this is what I call the great dig. We'll take a little jog in your memory to dig up some more answers, okay? And this is where you learn to find your true purpose. Can any of us remember when you were a child? Probably for most of us, we can't. Do you remember when you used to put your wellies on and you used to jump in the puddles? For most of us, that's a distant memory. Most of us may have grandkids or kids, and that's where we relive some of that great dig. When you were a child, life experiences was free, it was playful, it was alive. And what I want to say to you is your whims direct your life. And you're now more plugged in, or you were more plugged in at that stage to what I call your deeper current. Okay, your deeper flow. And at this stage in your life, the outside world hasn't shaped your dreams yet. Okay, but you have direct access to your passions and purpose. For most kids, the purpose was just coming down on a wet day, getting their wellies on and going and jumping in muddy puddles. We all have had things we loved to do as kids, but ended up giving them up for the sake of practicality. What we're going to do when we do this great dig is we're going to do here is to take a stroll through your memory banks and try to gain some glimpses of what I call, if you want to put this down, this is an important thing that I want you all to go in and look at today. Your childhood wisdom. People go, Ed, kids can't have wisdom. Of course, kids do have wisdom. If you work with young people, you'll realize how much wisdom young people actually have. When they say things to you that make you cry, when they say things to you that make you reflect on life, when you watch them doing things and you're jealous because you're not able to do that as well, kids have a lot of wisdom. So try to take some glimpses of what is your childhood wisdom. Then the second thing to do is to connect with your inner child. So again, what brought you that immense joy as a kid? Ask yourself some questions. What were you last doing? Can you remember what you were doing as a child when you lost track of time? Can you think about as an adult when the last time you lost track of time doing something? Okay. What did you drag your parents away from? What did you drag them away from to allow you to go and do? What did you love deep down before the world told you how to get practical? And once again, for me, keep in mind an open place when finding your purpose. So when we do these things, folks, what we got to do then, the next bit is what I call weave the golden thread. My grandfather was worked in Barber Threads. This is where this term weaving the golden thread, because there was golden thread, and anybody maybe of that sort of 50s, maybe into their 60s, golden thread was something that was very expensive, and it was used to for nice garments and things like that. So I've always had this thing of how do we weave that expensive thread between these thoughts? So once we start to do the great dig, now that you've pulled yourself away, we've got these things, we've got this information, what it is we like doing when we were young, what made us lose track of time, what did we drag people away to go and do, what did you huff at when you were younger when you didn't get a chance to do it, when you had to go and do something else. Your job now is to take a hard look at all your answers and see if you can pull out common ideas that come from that list when you were younger to what you do now. Maybe you wanted to be a writer since you were a child. And what we try to do is here was to try to commit some words to a page every day that really sets our soul on fire. Maybe that's what you did. Maybe that's what you did when you were younger. You wrote, you had a diary, you put things, you maybe did art. It's a good chance that writing or art may be involved in your life's purpose. Maybe you've always been fascinated by the stars, the cosmos, and you've always had a deep connection to spending time outdoors. But you would combine this into maybe working outside, working outdoors, maybe working with animals, maybe working with youth groups, going out and exploring. Again, what we got to do here is think about what it is we did when we were younger and what it is we're doing now, and the things that we were passionate about, the things that we got us up, the things that we were fascinated by, the things that we wanted to do. Did we carry them through to adult life before we become practical? This is what's called weaving the golden thread. And I'd be really honest with you today, when we talk about confidence and self-esteem, until you realize what it was when you were younger, that great dig, and what it is you're doing now, weaving that golden thread between what it was then and what it is now, finding your true purpose in life is very, very incredibly difficult. For most of us end up completely away. This is what part of understanding this purpose is. Most of us in our lives will realize that we're so far away from the stuff that made us passionate, the things that we wanted to do, and the practical things that we're now having to do. And this is what weaving this golden thread in the great big process is about. I would argue with most people, until you are doing what you're passionate about in life, in work and in life, it can be very, very difficult to deliver on your true purpose. So at this stage, we can find what our true purpose is, but then how do we actually start to live it? How do we start to move towards it? And one of the things we've got to do is, I told you about this crystal clear vision, your life statement, your life purpose, defined by your true priorities, you can start developing a vision, a mission statement for you in life. What do you believe about yourself? What you believed about yourself when you're younger? What excited you when you were younger? Where's that gone? Where's that now? And part of that is to get a clear, crystal clear vision and mission. What it is and how you're going to go about doing it, how you're going to achieve it. I laugh and I said that to Shannon, I always wanted to be a teacher, always wanted to be an educator. And for some odd reason, I talked myself out of it at the age of 18 and went a different direction in life. I can share with people, I had a breakdown at 31. I had to start from the beginning. And part of this great dig and weaving the golden thread was I went back and knew what my passion was. It's why I'm here with you today. It's why I talk so passionate about this process, is until you join that dots, until you go through that process, then most of us will never find our true purpose. But once you find it, then we've got to develop a crystal clear vision of how we get there. What we got to do also is that we got to define our true priorities. We've got to eliminate those false objectives. I'm talking to people who are in work today and in businesses and everything else. And what I'm not saying to you today is to walk away from what you do. Of course I'm not. But what I'm saying to you today is to live your true purpose. It's an extraordinary thing to do in life. And the majority of us don't live our true purpose. We live to the expectations of others. We live to habits. We live to schedules. We live to work. We live to friends. We live to society and what people want from us. It takes confidence. It takes confidence to live your life according to your priorities. That's why I tell people about how can I be confident? How do I build confidence? The first way in which we build confidence in life is to live to your true priorities. The true priorities, the things that lead to your purpose, not to work, not the expectations of others, not the habits and schedules. And this is especially true if your priorities are different from your loved ones. That can be very difficult if you're in a relationship and in family life with people who don't see and don't help you work towards your true priorities. And you need to figure out what matters. And importantly, this next bit, you need to figure out a plan. Okay, you need to figure out a plan. And I'm not saying to people you walk away from families and you walk away from jobs, but we got to be real about this. This happens in our universe. This happens in where we are today. People walk away from jobs unsatisfied. People walk away from relationships unsatisfied. And part of it is because people are not either living to their true priorities, they're living to false objectives, they're not achieving what their true purpose in life is. And the last thing for me is you got to figure out what drains you. You need to think about the things that exhaust you mentally or physically. Because listen, what I'm hoping to do with you today is that finding your purpose is not easy. Of course it's not. Some of you today, I hope, have found your purpose. And if you share that with other people as to how you found your purpose in life. But if you have, you'll understand just how exhausting it can be living to your purpose, because you've got to live in a society which maybe has other demands of you. This is why your plan for me is important, because you accept the things that you've got to do in order to survive. Okay, go back to this number one priority. What is your number one priority on the Maslow hierarchy of needs? Is to survive. But that's not your purpose. That's your needs. Okay, and what we do in our plan is we divide things up between what we got to do as our needs to survive, to have a family, to do all of those things that are important to us. But we've also then got to have a plan of how do we serve our purpose? How do we serve ourselves? How do we serve that purpose? And this is where a lot of people find it difficult in life. And the thing that I say to people is, listen, eliminate the things that are draining you. Tiredness is a clear sign from your mind, body, and your soul that the activities and the things that you're doing are not good for you. If I had a slogan to finish this off, it's important to run your race, live your life and focus on what matters to you, and build your life around your purpose and vision. The bottom line is learning how to find your purpose is a lifelong journey. But once you find your purpose, once you've discovered yourself, you'll find that your life opens itself up in ways you never thought possible. I sit here every day. I don't have clients. I don't have customers. I don't have people who I sell to. But some way in finding your life purpose, life then becomes good to you, becomes fulfilled. It doesn't matter about money. It doesn't matter about customers. It doesn't matter about work. Your life opens up itself to things that you never thought was possible. I never thought at the age of 31 I would be sitting here talking to 100 people about life's purpose. Watch it. Life opens itself up whenever you find your purpose. You'll experience new depths of opportunity. Your eyes will be open to all possibilities around you. So finding your purpose is all about turning towards you, who you are, and jumping right in. One of the things I want to mention to you today also is about, in terms of helping to find your purpose, people talk about values. And this is another big area which, if understood and managed correctly, I believe you can make a huge difference in your life, and importantly, grow in confidence and self-esteem if you live to your values. And when people ask me to define values, I like to say that, listen, these are things that allow you to lead your life or make your decisions when nobody is watching. Your true values in life are things, the way in which you lead your life, the way you make your decisions when nobody is watching. Great blind experiment. If somebody finds £20 rolling about the street today and you believe of giving something back that's not yours as part of your value, but nobody's watching, and you put it in your pocket, that's why I would say your true values are the things that you do, the way you lead your life and the decisions you make when nobody is watching. Because many of us adapt values which we see in others. You know, Elizabeth and Melanie and others might have good values, and we look at them and we go, do you know what? They're great. I'm going to adapt them too. See, we see values in other people, value which we believe will maybe bring us success, values we want others to see that we have. We adapt opposite values sometimes, folks, to hide and cover up the ones that we do have. And when we are doing any of the things above, or any of the things that I've talked about today, and I'm going to I'll show you this little list. When we're doing those things, what we're doing is we're living a lie. And ultimately, our confidence and self-esteem takes a hammering when we're living a lie. I see people every day of the week value things that other people have. They live their life and they base their values around trying to get things or get other values that people have because they see it as successful. Then we have values that we gravitate towards, we grab because they're the opposite to our own values, because sometimes we've got to fit into society, sometimes we've got to fit in the workplace. Then sometimes we live to a set of values that we wish we had. We wish people seen these values in us because it'll maybe bring us some sort of success. It'll bring us opportunity. And what I want to say to you is living values that aren't yours, aren't truly yours, is a lie. And if we are living a lie, then our confidence and our self-esteem will take a hammering. See, values are deep-rooted beliefs that you use to decide your code of what right is wrong, what's bad and good, and what's ultimately important to you. Your values and your purpose lie hand in hand, folks. I'm going to skip on a little bit here, Shannon, if you don't mind. People ask me about what are your values. Listen, there's any amount of values. Part of what you've got to do is ultimately to define your values. I put this list up because most people, when you ask them what are your values in life, they think, well, what are values? Okay, what are values? These are just some of them that might be available to you. And there's many more which I can put up. But again, one of the things we've got to do firstly is to identify what is your values in life. And once we identify them, then we've got to define them. Okay. Again, like understanding your purpose, looking back is a wonderful way to understand how best to move forward, how to find your purpose in life. One of the first things that I often say to people when defining your values is to reflect on your past. What time in life were you happiest? What time in life did you feel proud or fulfilled? What time in your life have you struggled with the most? Because in the struggle, we find value, as well as in success and happiness, we find our values. And with each answer, what we do is we peel back the layers of ourselves to reveal what values we have when things are good and what values we have when life is tough. We need to understand and define our values in life when both of these things are happening, because life will not always be good. Life will be tough as well. Okay. How do we do this? Well, in looking to define your values today, one of the things I've often said is about looking to those you admire. This idea, folks, came from a guy called Dr. Stephen Hayes. He was the founder of acceptance and commitment therapy. And he recommended naming your heroes to help identify your values. Now, for some of us, that might be Superman or Catwoman. I don't know what is your the people who you look to in life as your heroes. For me, it was my grandfather. For others, that might be different people. But when you look externally at those who you admire, these people, as I said, maybe have good personal traits. Maybe they have good work traits. They've maybe got good societal traits. They've maybe got good values around working and helping other people. So what I want you to do is, in defining your values, write down what you admire about people who you see as heroes, okay, or people who you admire in your life. When we do this, then we got to create a list of our top 5 values. What are the things that we believe are important for us? And hopefully by now you should start to see or spot some patterns in your values that are important to you. For me, my values and defining my values were joy, loyalty, integrity, balance, and reliability. That might be different for some of us today. And by creating these top level or top 5 values, what we do is we start to prioritize our values. And this step can be really difficult, but it really helps. And now that you've got the 5 values noted down, think about how you want to prioritize them. How are you going to live them? How are you going to put them into action? Again, this comes in connection with your plan for your purpose. What's your plan for prioritizing and aligning these values in life? How are you getting up each day and making sure that you're living to these values? What I say to people is sometimes you need to experiment with different ways of reminding yourself of your values. You need to see what works best for you. People have phones. Say to people, set a wee reminder maybe in your daytime calendar to check back in and see, are you living to your values that day? Are you doing the things that you aspire to be? Are you doing the things that you aspire in others? This is what I call living your life in alignment with your values. This is where a lot of people get lost in their purpose in life as well, is that they're living or aligning themselves with values that don't meet with what they do. So you've got to find a way to make sure that you're living your life to the values that you aspire to be. The last bit I want to talk to you today about is knowing your worth. So these three things go a little bit hand in glove. So we've got our purpose. I know I've had to cover values a little bit quicker today, but I will give you more information and stuff on that. So understand your values is part of understanding your purpose. But understanding and living your purpose, you have to know your worth. The term know your value or worth means knowing what to spend your time and energy on. Knowing yourself, respecting yourself, loving yourself enough to care for you. Not selling out on your morals, not selling out on your values, but to be that something that you truly are. When we talk about knowing your worth, we're referring to the simple truth that we all have worth. I started this conversation with you saying you are all worthy people. You're all important people. The simple truth is we all have worth. It's just that some of us don't know it. And those of us who don't know our worth, maybe consciously or unconsciously believe that you're worthless. But believing that we are unworthy can affect everything from our thoughts, our emotions, our actions, our confidence, our self-esteem, right through to how we experience our life. And in fact, when you analyze data here from the recent wellbeing survey, low self-worth, low self-esteem, low confidence was the #1 predicator to unhappiness. So knowing your worth and believing that you're indeed worthy is absolutely essential for happiness, confidence, and self-esteem. Self-worth is that internal sense of being good enough and worthy enough and belonging. Self-worth can often get confused with self-esteem, which for me can rely on external factors. We've talked about self-esteem so often is reliant on what people say, the self-verification, society, and what people tell you to do and where to do it and how you've got to do it. Self-worth is deeper. Self-worth is deeper than self-esteem. One of the things I think I said to you at the start was if I asked you to price a bottle of water, we take our bottle of water and we put it in the supermarket. We then put it in a bar, put it in a hotel. We take it and we maybe put it on the far side of our check-in at the airport. The bottle and the brand of water is the same. The only thing that changes is the place and the environment. And what we see in all of those 4 areas, the supermarket, the bar, the hotel, and the airport, each environment gives a different value or worth to the same product. This is what happens just in life. When you feel you're worth nothing or very little, then everything and everyone brings you down. If you get to that place in life where you know where your worth is appreciated, where you know that your worth is rewarded sometimes with value. Maybe you've moved from the supermarket to the airport. You haven't changed. You're still you. But the environment and the recognition of your worth has changed. And why this is important is some of us have to have the courage to change the places and go to the environments where you're given true value and the worth you desire. The big problem, of course, with just bringing up the little prices there, the big problem, of course, today with worth or self-worth is how do we measure it? How do we measure our self-worth? How do we value ourselves? If it's not based on what other people think of you or things that you have or haven't, what is it? We are trying to constantly measure our worth, but we are often not aware of how we do this. It's like if I said to Donald today, Donald, I want you to come and stand with me and we're going to measure what height Donald is. And somebody comes out with a ruler and I just come out with a stick. Measuring our worth is like measuring our height with a random stick. That's what we do when it comes to measuring our self-worth. Many people use something just as random as a reliable or unreliable stick to measure height. Goes back that old thing, remember people used to measure in hands as well. You may not even consciously think about what type of stick you are measuring your self-worth with, but it's likely deep down you know what stick you need to be measuring your life with. When you feel like measuring up in life, folks, our stick gets big. You feel good about yourself, but when you feel as though you're falling short in life, your stick gets shorter. So often the stick we're using to measure our worth exists outside of our control. So we measure our worth based on our to-do lists, the number of matches we've maybe got on a dating app, the number of likes we've got on Facebook, the number of Instagram posts, the number of promotions, the pay rises, and the list goes on and on. We tend to notice how our sense of self-worth affects how we feel, but we rarely stop to think about how do we do the calculations in terms of how do we measure our worth. Said some of us measure our worth on our to-do list, our job, social media, your age, your appearance, other people. We've maybe got kids today and their self-worth is based on their grades, number of friends you have, maybe even your relationship status, or for some of us, how much money we have in our bank. Many of us let our self-worth be contingent upon external events. We may be selective about what we let affect our self-worth. For example, maybe it's just our mom that makes us feel worthless, or just our bosses. Regardless, when our self-worth depends on external situations, it's unstable. And therefore, our feelings about ourselves can end up being at a whim of the world. And listen, the very reason why some of us came on this course or come on this program is because maybe critical words or things that have been said to us, maybe from a supervisor about our jobs, that you're maybe not doing your job right. I'd like to say that this maybe didn't hurt your self-esteem, but it really does, especially for most of us here today who could maybe be trying our best. So why do we let other people's actions and opinions affect how we feel about ourselves? Obviously, we want to experience things that make us feel good and engaging, and things that boost our self-esteem and our confidence, the things that make us feel good. But when we have contingent self-worth, worth that's based on other things outside of our control, we might engage in activities that make us feel worthy and avoid activities that make us feel unworthy. Think about that today. Is your self-worth contingent? Are you always putting yourself into things that make you have worth, make you know that you're going to achieve, know in advance that you're going to do well or be successful at doing that piece of work? How many of us shy away from running the hard race, taking the hard piece of work on, doing the things in life that we know will ultimately make us feel unworthy? When we shape our worth based on contingencies, what happens is we run away from the things that actually maybe help develop our purpose in life, the things that shape our long term. We get comfortable. Go back to what I said at the start. This is why this all links. the reason why we don't find our purpose is because we are unwilling or fearful of straying away from what we know, what we're good at, or what we perceive that we're good at, or what other people say we're good at. So our self-worth becomes contingent on what it is we do. Okay. Do you hold your self-worth hostage? Okay, this is a great question. Do we hold our self-worth hostage? Obviously, we want to experience things that make us feel good, and engaging in things that boost our self-esteem and confidence makes us feel good. But do we hold our self-worth hostage by avoiding the things in our lives that will make us learn, that we might fail at, but in that failing, we will learn things about our purpose and our goals? Are we pursuing worth instead of knowing your worth? I'm going to talk to you a little bit just in finishing about that. Pursuing self-worth versus knowing self-worth can also harm your relationships. When your self-worth is contingent on a domain, we strive at all costs to do well in that domain. We may not handle criticism well. We may prioritize performance over learning. We may even quit if we're not doing well. And as a result, we lose a lot of our autonomy. We lose a lot of our purpose. We feel pressured or pressurized by demands of expectations. How do we live our life to our worth? Here's what I'm going to finish with today. I call these knowing yourself strategies, knowing your worth strategies. First one for me is understand the power of your attitude towards yourself. Understand that power of attitude towards yourself, how you perceive yourself, how you talk about yourself, how you represent yourself eventually becomes the reality for you. And if that happens, you're putting yourself down. If you're belittling your worth and making light of your talents in the face of others, then you will come across as what I call self-effacing, low in self-esteem, low in confidence, and indeed for some of us almost part of the wallpaper or the furniture in the place that we work. There's a difference between humility and self-denial, folks. On the other hand, if you exaggerate your qualities and your talents and your skills, you'll come across as egotistical or maybe even arrogant. And oddly enough, this isn't about overestimating your self-worth. As I talked earlier, it's about deceiving yourself through insecurity. And there is a middle pathway. And that one is which you recognize and celebrate the fact that you're a valuable person, equal to everyone else, and that your talents, your values, your purpose in life is unique and worthy. Getting to this belief, I know, can be difficult. But if you've spent years underestimating your worth, it is possible to change your thoughts, to learn to start to value yourself again. How you perceive yourself, how you talk about yourself, and how you represent yourself will become your reality. Learn to overcome this fear of self-love. I know this is a male thing sometimes as well, and indeed both a female thing, but we struggle with self-love. And self-love is about treating yourself with the same care, tolerance, generosity, compassion as you would maybe a special friend. Learn to overcome a fear of self-love. Self-love is, for me, folks, often equated with this narcissism, maybe being egocentric. That's the way society maybe puts it to us. And in some kind of way, it's a negative form of being maybe introverted. And this is probably partly because the English language has a hard time dealing with the word love. It has to cover a lot of territory for the many different types of love that's out there. It's also mirrored in maybe confusion. People feel about the message to do good unto others, to always maybe be charitable and to give to oneself. Healthy self-love, though, is about being your own best friend. Self-love is expressed not through preening oneself all day and constantly announcing how great you are to other people. Self-love is about treating yourself with care, with tolerance, with generosity, and compassion. Avoid obsessing over how people see you. How does it help you to cater, or how do you help cater for your own personality? Only you can give yourself that esteem boost, or that boost to your confidence, not other people. Trust your feelings. Listen, I would even go as far as saying trust your gut, but that's for a whole different day. Your gut is probably never wrong. Brain might be, but your gut maybe isn't. You got to learn to trust your feelings. Self-worth requires you to learn how to listen and to rely on your own feelings, and not automatically to respond to the feelings of other people around you. When you trust your own feelings, you'll recognize the unfair demands or the expectations or other things that people have upon you. Your self-esteem, your self-worth plummets when you let others make decisions for you. So initially, this may seem maybe like an easy route, and that allows you to avoid maybe the hard choices in life. However, our self-worth grows when we make decisions for ourselves. And if you don't, you'll always find yourself boxed in by other people. Other people will make decisions for you. And what happens is your purpose and indeed your self-worth in life will disappear. So understanding to trust your own feelings, to trust your gut, analyze yourself. Big part of what this has been, this program over the last 4 weeks, is to get you to go out and think about yourself. Because many of us live in a culture where it's not actually a very fond idea to go away and analyze yourself. We're all taught to analyze others. Questions we've asked of ourselves: what is my purpose? What is my values? What is my worth? What are my talents? What are my skills? What are my strengths? Stop focusing on your weaknesses. You've probably done that long enough. Probably some of us have done it all our lives. Start looking at what your strengths are. Start thinking about what you've got, that special gift that Shannon and I talk about. What is that special gift that you have? Your purpose and that gift will realign to where you need to be in life. What I want from life. Am I happy with my health? What makes me feel fulfilled? Ask those big questions of yourself. Don't shy away from them. Don't forget about them. Don't let other people make decisions about them. Don't wait until you're on your deathbed to ask yourself these big questions of life. Learn to analyze yourself. And this last one about self-worth is stop making your self-worth conditional on other people. Stop making it contingent on other people. People with healthy worth will share their insights and learning with you. That's why I said to people today, if you found your purpose, if you've got your values and you know where you're going in life, share that with other people. Help other people with it. Unfortunately, many people live this way, making choices in life, what to study, where to work, where to live, where to go, how many children to have, based on expectations from parents or spouses, friends, media, and society. Be very, very wary of listening too much to people who regret the choices that they've made in life. We seem to be allured, we get drawn into listening to people who talk about things that have went wrong in life. Maybe we need to start talking and listening to people who can tell you what went right in life. People with healthy self-worth will share their insights and learning with you, and they'll be willing to guide you around life's traps. Look for those people to mentor you in life. You're not too old to have a mentor. Some young people are very, very wisdom and knowledge. I often say there's some young people maybe getting a third or fourth go at this. They've got that much wisdom. Find that mentor in life that will help you get back to where your purpose lies. Let go of the parts of your self-worth that were based on people's opinions, maybe from your childhood, whether it was your parents, grandparents, caregiver, I don't know. learn to let go of that. Learn to stop determining yourself based on what people have told you about you. If those people made you feel bad about yourself, look for evidence in life that they were wrong. We see that. That's why sometimes kids fall out with parents. Find it difficult because kids are able to find out when, as parents, we give them advice, we give them guidance, and then they go away and they find out that we have maybe made similar or bad decisions in life too. So how we rephrase that is, here's the good things that you need to do. And the last one for me, it's not up there, but a start where finished, a finish where start. Tell yourself that you matter. Realistic self-talk is great at affirming your self-worth openly to yourself. It can be a good way of changing that negative self-talk that many of us have probably developed over time. Make set times during the day to remind yourself that you're a great person. Tell yourself you're special, wonderful, lovable, and maybe loved. That's probably one of the most important things at building confidence and self-esteem. We can't rely, and we shouldn't rely, on other people to give us our confidence, for other people to determine what our self-esteem is. We have to learn to be able to start talking positively to ourselves. And I hope, listen, over the last 4 weeks, I've probably brought you a lot of information, a lot of different things, something different maybe for all of us to think about. But if we can find what our purpose is and define that, work on it. The two things that made it much easier for me in understanding who I was and where I needed to be was go back to when you were a child. Go back to what made you excited. Go back to whenever you said, when you were maybe 9 or 10 and you got to do a wee bit of work experience, and then that whenever you went into big school, you went on and you did a bit of work experience. How many of us are doing the things that we did when we were asked when we were younger, where is it you want to work? What is it you want to do? It's a great attribute when you ask young people now, what is it you want to do? Where do you want to go? They don't know. They don't know. For many of us, we did know when we were younger what we wanted to do, and we ended up going and doing other things or different things in life. That journey of the deep dig, or the deep dive, sow the golden thread, and more importantly, be able to back yourself up with a plan, come up with that life mission and vision. You're not too old. You're not too old to start it all again. Go back and start at the start if you have to. And when you do it the second, or for maybe some of us the third or the fourth time round, you learn a little bit more about yourself and your purpose and where you're going in life. But the one thing I can rest assure people sitting here today is, when you find your purpose, when you start living to your values, and importantly, you understand your self-worth, there's two things that happen in life. And I can say this incredibly powerful. A lot of people walk away from you. A lot of people come out of your periphery. They no longer want to be around you. Why? Simple answer to that is, in life, a lot of people, we're all happy in the pen. And we'll leapfrog and we jump on top of other people. We're fine in life, providing we're a little bit better than them, or we know a wee bit more, or whatever it might be. Okay, a lot of people are drawn towards the negativity. Unfortunately, in life, whenever you decide to change that, you start moving towards your purpose. When you start to live by your values and you give yourself that self-worth, you'll find a lot of people who have been in your periphery drop out. That's okay, because what happens is, once you start to live to your purpose and your life choices and your life's design, then other things start to open up in your world. It's very difficult at the start. Some of us might lose family, some of us might leave jobs, some of us might go and live in a different part of the world. And I say that's okay to do that, providing you know what your purpose is. It realigns with your values. And you are doing it out of self-worth. And once you get those things right, then it's fine for me to go and start putting that plan in place, to go and do those things that you want to do. And ultimately, a new life opens up for you. So you got to get over that nervousness, that fear of letting go. And you're talking to somebody here who would have been one of the most anxious kids probably I ever met. And I look back on my own life and go, what held me back? The anxiety of change, of going and doing the things that I wanted to do, for going and serving my purpose. I talked myself out of going a different way in life because of anxiety, of fear, of not having confidence and not having self-esteem. People might look at me now and go, listen, but do you know this and do you know that? And I go, listen, I only know what I know. I'm confident in what my strengths and my purpose and what I need to do. There's experts out there. There's other people who are much more knowledgeable in the things that I talk about. But the one thing that I love is to be able to share that journey with people and to give you that hope that it's not too late to work your way back, do the dig, sew the golden thread, have your vision, come up with your plan, your life's purpose, align your values, and go and do something for yourself and indeed your family and your friends, if that's what is important to you in terms of your values as well. So listen, I'm happy to take any questions. I know it was a bit of a long chatter through there today, but I wanted to try and bring that all to you in the last week, just around that whole bit of knowledge and information for you.